So in terms of this training, what have I prepared for you? So we are going to cover 5 areas. And what are we going to cover? Number one, we're going to look at what motivates employees, the young employees, the employees in their 20s. Then we're going to look at you as a leader, as a manager. What strategy can you implement, to manage and even motivate these young employees? Communication is key in the workplace, whether we are talking down, up, down, or down, up. Communication is key. So we are going to look at how can you tailor your communication, so that it can resonate with these young employees. Then we are going to look at the specific challenges you're going to encounter. This cuts across. It doesn't matter whether you're Safaricom, whether you are UN, whether you're corporate staffing services. Like Mary has said, I've been in this field for the last 14 years, and I can tell you, it doesn't matter how big you are as an employer. It doesn't matter how competitive you are in the industry. I've seen these cuts across. So what are these challenges that you're bound to encounter as an employer, as a manager, and even how can you address them? And lastly, the young employees, they don't work on their own, the workplace is made of, cross-generational teams. So you'll have the people in their 20s, you'll have the people in their 30s, the 40s, 60, and probably even 70. So how can you make sure that you promote teamwork across the various generations? Good. So with that, without further ado, I would want to hear from you. What are the top concerns or frustration that you faced or you're probably facing as a manager when it comes to reading and even managing employees, the young employees? So if you can go to the chat function or feel free, you can unmute, share with us. That would help. Yeah. What you can tell us, are you managing a young team? And what are the things that keep you awake? What are the things you say, wow, I have to attend that session just to hear, am I the only one who's going through this? Is my organization unique? Yeah, so I'd love to hear from you. We are currently 143 of us logged in. So I'm sure, yeah, there's something that spoke to you. That's why you signed up for this training or session. So I would love to hear from you. You can go to the chat function. What has been your experience managing the young team? Shilpa is saying they are not settled. Damaris Nyakeo, lack of confidence, executing their duties. Rispa Nyambura, how they communicate, express themselves. Betty Mutio, engagement. Betty, you must be in HR. Shadrach, the main problem, communication preferences. Work-life balance. Yes. Work-life balance expectation. RISPA, how they communicate and express themselves. Thank you. And Maina, their levels of commitment are low. They resign at the slightest work pressure. Oh, yeah, indeed, especially if they're in sales, business development. If there's a profession that has a very high turnover, yeah. Chris on TT is saying, I read a team where you assign duty and timelines, but no progress until you push them. Advice. Victoria Mutuku, lack of time management. Yeah. Mary Kagumu, attitude towards work, failure to follow policy, wanting to work according to their wish. Coach Enoch, social media distraction, technology. Shilpa, communication, lack of respect for the seniors. Faith Omburo, high salary expectation, not matching up skills and experience. And Kimani, lack of discipline. Conrado, they are not patient. Elizabeth, this is an interesting comment. Very serious mood changes. Other, diverted attention to social media. I'm loving your feedback. Helen has a different take. They bring their whole selves to work. This means you have to deal with their personal issues, health issues, as well as their professional issues. And sometimes even what is happening at home. Yeah. Caroline Afura, they can't handle pressure, patience. They have a sense of entitlement and wanting it all. As I say, always job hunting, even when at work. they're using your bundles, your resources to job hunt. Uh, yeah. Lack of seriousness with work. They feel they're doing a favor to the company, Chris. GPT Faith Wamboi, that means what? Whatever ideas they're coming up with, they're not original. Yeah, Mediset, their communication and level of commitment is wanting, lack of required skills and willing to learn. Oh yeah, so thank you all for that feedback. So what was the motivation? Why did I think about this topic? We normally have these monthly sessions, and this is based on the feedback that I've been getting from clients and even partners. And one of the main concern is what we've observed, especially in the last 3 to 4 years. There are so many young people who you invite for interviews. Probably the first interview they'll attend, they come, they do very well. You call them for the second interview, and you find 30 to 40% of them, they're not turning up for interview. And to make matters worse, these are not people who are working. If someone has a job, that's a different matter altogether, you know. So this has happened to our client. It has happened here at Corporate Staffing Services. And yet, if I was asking someone young in the team yesterday here, why would you come for an interview, provide all the information, we even do the ref check, and then you don't turn up for interview? And when you call you don't pick your call, and you're not working. Yeah. So I found that that is something that's becoming more common. And like I said, it's not just happening to the SMEs, where you think, okay, maybe the SMEs, they're not paying very well. It's happening across the board. I've heard even of big companies, people who have a good name in the industry, and still the young generation are behaving that way. So I got interested to want to find out, is this common? How are other people taking it? And obviously, this is an issue that has been debated all over the internet, and that is why I decided to come up with the topic. Yeah. So are your frustrations unique? I would say no. So this is what you're bound to encounter with this young generation. And I don't want to say Gen Z or whatever. I believe there's something that happens to someone when they're in their 20s, when they're just fresh from college. Probably maybe they don't understand the work expectation. Yeah, so I'm going to share with you some of the top concerns that I've found out that cuts across the board. So number one, what are you bound to encounter? Impatience for career development. So you may notice a tendency among your younger employees to desire rapid career progression and recognition, that is titles and higher salary. And sometimes, them not having gained the requisite experience or expertise to bring them to that high level that they are aiming for. So impatience when it comes to career advancement. The second thing I've observed is over-reliance on technology, and that affects the interpersonal skills. So as a manager, you may perceive that your employees in your 20s, they are heavily reliant on technology, and they even may struggle with the face-to-face communication or building interpersonal relationship. And, you all know what is happening in our household. The father is on the gadget, the mother also is on the gadget, and the two kids. And I can say that it's not even getting any easier when it comes to technology. The third thing, the desire for instant gratification, as some of you have mentioned. So younger employees, they may exhibit a preference for quick results and immediate rewards, which can clash with the patience and the long-term perspective often required in certain projects or roles. And a good example for me is sales and marketing. If there's a profession that you're going to encounter a lot of challenges when hiring the people, it's sales, business development. And there are two things I would highly recommend when it comes to the sales and business development. There are two trainings I would highly recommend. Number one, it's a training on your product or service. Please don't make assumptions, especially when you do mass recruitment at that level. Train them on the product or service, and then also offer them some life skills training. Assume these are your younger brother or sister, because we still have to survive with them. We still have to have them in the workplace. So try as much as possible, and some of these things you don't even have to outsource to that party. But if you can be having some monthly trainings where it's not so much about the job, what they do, but on life skills, what does it take to succeed in your career? You have to have patience. We all start low. If for me, I would tell them I started at a salary of 4,000 shillings, which was a fact, And even that 4,000 shilling, I never used to get paid on time. You know, you get 1,500 here. But there are all these small beginnings. So if us as employers, as managers, we can realize that, because we cannot write them off. So train them on life skills for them to understand how things work, and as much as possible, train them on the products, or the service. Let them have that expertise. Yeah. So instant gratification is something you'll observe. The other bit is emphasize on work-life balance. So younger employees, they may over-prioritize work-life balance. Majority of them, 90% of them, they're just watching the clock. And like I said, it doesn't matter how competitive you are as an organization. It doesn't matter how much salary you're paying. So you'll find for them, if the clock in is at 8 and you leave at 5, yeah, they'll come. Majority of them will come in at 8, exactly 8, and leave at 5, and they'll not feel anything about it. They believe they have other things to do outside the office, and that's just how they are right now. For us, I remember I have close to 18 years of experience. In my younger years, you couldn't leave the office before your boss. There's no way, you know, there's no way. And it's not that we had fear. No, it's just simply out of respect, the mere respect. So you'd make sure that the boss finds you. So if the reporting time is 8 and the boss, he normally reports at 7:30, you'd make sure it is before 7:30 you are there. And if the boss leaves at 6, you'd also find that you leave at 6. So I don't know, probably because of the way we were raised, where you look at, someone in authority, you respect them, you want to behave in a certain way. But for them, it's, what does the contract say? It says 5 p.m. By 4:50, I've checked out. So I'm just looking at the clock, and the next 10 minutes, I'm out. Yeah, so for them, very key on this work-life balance. This one we've already discussed, too much technology, it's really a distraction. And you'll find someone, they've not done much, all from lunch hour, they are all over Twitter, they're engaging in all these debates. And you can see how this affects productivity and results. There's just too much, and it doesn't help. You can come up with the policies, you can make sure that you block some sites in the office. They don't need your Wi-Fi. It's becoming cheaper and cheaper to access online. So you might find, especially if they don't buy into your course, if they're just there for the job, either for the internship or their first salary, they're really not bought into the company. And this is where I would want us maybe to in another training we can discuss about, how to improve on your organizational culture. So you'll find, yes, they might probably be giving you only 3 hours of their time. The other thing to expect is frequent job hopping. So there's a tendency for younger employees to change jobs more frequently, seeking new opportunities and experiences, which can pose challenges for team stability and continuity. But this one, I would say it's really not something new. I mean, I remember my first job was at the bank, and we were employed, I believe, 50 of us, but by the third year, we were only 20 of us that he had left for greener opportunities. So for this, I would say, I, as a manager or as an employer, I wouldn't take it personal. The reason being, a lot of us, based on where we are, a lot of us are in SMEs, medium-sized firms. We can only be able to offer them so much. So I believe you shouldn't take it personal if someone leaves. Yeah. So try as much as possible to create a conducive working environment where they can be able to learn, where they can be able to really practice their skills, where they can be proud to have started their career. But if an opportunity comes, please don't hold them back, because that's the reality. A lot of us at that age, we believe that there are better options. So if they're working for the UN, probably they'll still be looking for something else. So it has nothing to do with you as an employer. It's just the stage they are at life. So embrace it. And I'll tell you, for example, here at corporate staffing also, we have quite a younger population. And I'm not surprised if someone resigns. I'm not, especially if it's greener pastures. In fact, for me, my policy is I never, unless you come to me early, if you can't come and give me a resignation letter and then we discuss the issue of salary increase or anything like that. That's a conversation I've never had, simply because I know they are starting at their career. I'll give them all the support they need. I'll support them, I'll try, have a learning environment, try to mentor them, coach them. But at the end of the day, I know they'll probably be the organization for 2 or 3 years. And for those who worked with the big four audit firms, the PwC, the KPMG of this world, the Deloitte, that's the apex of the, of the financial consultancy firms. They'll also attest that they also hire the 80 to 100 fresh graduates training, but they know within 4 years, over 80% of them will have left for one reason or another. So don't take it personal. This is not changing anytime soon. Yeah. Good. So those and the last one, point number 7, lack of social skills and etiquette. I've come to say, there's a bit of when it comes to young people, what as we would consider, there's the right way to behave at work, the way you address each other, the way you communicate, emails, phones, even chats, even with these new mediums of communication, there's a way you behave at the workplace, which is very different from a colleague, a friend. So you might find for them, there's that bit of where they just don't understand what is the proper way, how to be a professional at the workplace. Yeah, we may want to break the barriers, we may want to have the open door policy, but you can only do so much. Yeah, it's still a workplace. There still has to be respect. People still have to respect each other across the hierarchy of the organization. So sometimes you might find, the young people, they don't want to adhere to that, and they just want uh, to have an experience. Yeah. So those are some of the things you're bound to encounter if you have a younger team with you. So lack of social skills, frequent job hopping, the distraction from the technology, the emphasis on work-life balance. Don't be mad now if they're leaving at 5, it's just through the year. If they come early, you appreciate. Try to have a conducive work environment, but it's like I said, and I'll keep emphasizing on this, it cuts across a lot of the organization. The desire for instant gratification, over reliance on technology, impatience for career advancement. Good. So if those are the challenges that organizations are experiencing, then it will be for us to be able to really read the young people. It's important that we understand them. It's important we understand where they're coming from. And like I said, I'm not going to generalize and say this is a Gen Z issue. No, even me now, when I reflected, when I was starting in my career, I had certain expectations. And so this is not going to change. Even if I did do this training 20 years later to come, I don't think young people will have changed much. I don't think they'll have changed much. So I believe it's for us to understand them, be able then to sort of, when it comes to our leadership approach, align it to who they are, the expectations, so that we can be able to work together and succeed and be able to meet the organizational goals. So I'll share with you the top characteristics and motivation of employees in their 20s. What do they desire from us as managers and even organizations? So the first thing that employees in their 20s desire is that, they've grown up in the digital age, especially when you look into the last 20 years, and they're generally comfortable with technology. So they often possess strong digital skills and are quick to adapt to new tools and platforms. For me, especially, the key takeaway here is they are quick to adapt to new tools and platforms. For me now, if you come to me, I don't have a TikTok account. I'm not on Instagram, I'm big on, I think where I spend a lot of time, my time is it's on LinkedIn, a bit of Twitter. But we all know the market now is online. So whichever kind of business you're running, whether it's in the financial services, whether it's people like us, consultancy, whether you are Cork, whether you are EABL, whether you are Safaricom, all our customers are online. And who are the biggest consumers? It's the young people. So these are the people who are going to teach us on how do we interact on TikTok? What are the young people, when they visit TikTok, what are they watching? What kind of content works for them? So as you can see, there's a lot for us to learn from the young people, and they can teach us a lot. And that's where they are. So we have to be in their space. The second characteristic is the ambitious and goal-oriented. So young employees often have high aspirations and a strong drive to achieve their goals. They are motivated by personal and professional growth, seeking opportunities for advancement and development. And like I said, if you don't take it personal, there's a way this can also work for you. I'll give you an example here at Corporate Staffing Services. For a long time, there was an issue we had in recruitment. So we'd have these clients come, they make a request, they want to hire, and at the beginning they look so serious. And you sign the contract and you start the process. But then when you share the profiles of the client of the candidates, you've done all your part. You've advertised, people have come for interviews at the office, and you've shared the CV. But then the client ghosts you, they keep quiet. And what made the difference was this young lady that we hired, she was an intern. And during our monthly session, so the issue came up that, oh, this month we've gotten this number of requests. And out of all these requests, these are the people, the clients that we went all the way to the end. Unfortunately, they are not talking to us. We don't know what's happening. And that young woman said, why don't we be charging something small? If we have doubts that this client, we're not so sure how it's going to be, why don't we ask for commitment from the client? And so I, having been there for the last 7 years, I looked at her and I couldn't believe that I had never thought about it that way. And since then, we've implemented, and it has worked for us. So one of the ways we gauge seriousness is, are you willing to pay a deposit? And so a lot of times, there are some who you probably not pay, and there's a reason why they do it, but then they commit in other ways. But the others where, we've also avoided, burning our fingers, where the client says, no, there's no justification. So we also don't continue. So what I'm trying to bring out is, I am the CEO, and yet that's not something that had closed my mind. And we were losing time, we were losing money, and the suggestion came from someone quite young. And since then, we've implemented, and it has made all the difference. So yeah, so just to tell you that they do see far. Yeah. The third characteristic is that, they are flexible and adaptable. Yeah, so they're open to change, and they can quickly adjust to new situations, and are often comfortable with ambiguity. And we all know what has happened since COVID. And if there's a team that came through, it's the young people. Yeah. Even I, up to today, the issue of working from home is very difficult. I find it very difficult. I don't, even during the days of COVID, I'll still find myself, I'll leave home and come and do my 2 or 3 hours in the office. Yeah, because that's a space that I feel comfortable. Yeah, I do have not so young kids, but for a reason, I just find that I'm comfortable, with the status quo. But the young people, for them, depending on your approach, they are very adaptable. They are ready to pick up on new ideas, especially if they understand where you are coming from. If you're able to answer the big why are we doing this, then they're able to follow you. So that's something also positive about them. I've already spoken about this entrepreneur mindset. So many employees in their 20s, they possess an entrepreneur mindset, seeking opportunities for innovation and creative problem solving. They show a willingness to take risks, think outside the box, and explore new ideas. And I've already shared with you what has happened here at Corporate Staffing Services. I think for the fact that for them, it's a blank canvas. They don't have a point of reference. Sometimes, when you've been at it for the last 5, 7, 10 years, you tend to think of, the tried and tested. You want to play it safe. But for them, the fact that they are young, never done that before, they're willing to explore, and that can work to our advantage. Yeah. Feedback and recognition is something they desire, they crave for. So employees in their 20s, they appreciate regular feedback and recognition for their work. They seek constructive feedback to improve their performance, and value acknowledgement and appreciation for their contribution. Now, the reality is 90 of us who are logged in today, you may not be able to pay the salaries that the staff desire, and that's a fact. So I always advise my clients, if salary is the only thing you can be able to provide to staff, you're already losing. But if you pay at least a competitive salary, as much as you can be able to afford, but then also on top of it, layer it with skills, teaching them skills, having a better work environment, you go a longer way. They'll still live within the 2 or 3 years, but at least both parties will have a positive experience. So if there's an area where I feel we are losing out, you're dropping the ball, is this one. because these are people, they crave attention, they crave recognition, they want to be given feedback. Am I doing the right thing? You know, how else can I be better? Because they know at that stage, they also know they are lacking in terms of experience. So if they're able to find an organization that really suits them, I think they're able to forego that pay issue. But now when it comes to the work and you also want to behave like you're doing them a favor, so they also focus on the salary. And that is why if someone pays them 1 or 2,000 shillings, they'll move. So please, if you can be able to address that aspect of the work culture and the relationship that the seniors have with the juniors, I believe it can make a whole lot of a difference. And I'm going to share with you, practical steps on how you can be able to implement that. So feedback and recognition is something that indeed they crave for. Yes, there's the issue of work-life balance. We can't forget this. So for them, achieving a work-life balance is important. They seek flexibility in their schedules. They value time for personal pursuits and prioritize maintaining a healthy work-life integration. And here I would say, especially if their emotions, if their heart is not with what you're doing, there are only two ways to influence someone. Either you can influence them, mentor, and mentor here, issues to do with salary, the benefits, the perks, who you are as an organization. That's what would influence someone, mentally, logic, There's the other way you can influence someone is, through their emotions, do they identify with what you do? Do they look up to you as a manager or as a leader? Are they proud of their work? Do they feel that they're appreciated? There you are touching the heart. You're not really touching the mind. So if your focus so much is on the mind, the tangibles, then, and you don't take care of the emotive aspect, then, the probability of the young employees also, being very critical on how many hours are we giving you, then it will be there. So work-life balance, it's something that they're very keen on, but I believe there's something we can still do to make sure that we achieve a bigger buy-in, if not 100%. Good. So those are the characteristics, and I can say it's what we have to work with: work-life balance, them seeking, craving feedback and recognition, them being source of new ideas, them being flexible and adaptable, them being ambitious. We shouldn't see this as a threat. It's just we have to see on how we can harness that. And also technology, but them being technologically savvy. That means now at your organization, if you're able to keep up with the times, then you have a team that you can work with. Yeah. Good. So having looked at that, what are some of the leadership strategies that you can start applying to manage and motivate the young employees? Yeah. What can you do? What can you do as a manager? How can you approach these differently? Yeah. But before I look at that, Millicent has a question here. My other question was, what is your perspective of having someone from a technical science field being a top manager CEO in an organization? I understand such roles can be perfectly dealt with someone with social skills, and in most cases, we find that they are professionals from humanities or social science field. That's an interesting question, Millicent. So probably what you're asking is, if I'm not a doctor, can I run Nairobi Hospital? I believe I can be able to do that 100%. You don't have to be a doctor to run Nairobi Hospital. Would it help? Yes. Why? Because when it comes to leadership, it's all about people management. Yeah, and especially at the top level. Why? Because I'll have someone who's a specialist in finance. I'll have someone who's specialist, whatever happens in the hospital. Yeah, I'll have someone taking care of the HR. So for me, my work is to provide leadership, is to provide strategy, is to provide mentorship, to the people who report to me. Yeah. And technical skills can only take you far. Yeah. In fact, I believe for me, when it comes to especially the high level position, when it comes to success, technical skills only account for 40%. It would help you if you have a good understanding. But then what you make you win at the end of the day, 60% it's your soft skills. It's those leadership skills. It's the emotional intelligence. It's the negotiation skills. It's stakeholder engagement, relationship management. Who are your who do you have to interact with? Those are key. Yeah, and that is why even Safaricom, when they were looking to hire Peter Ndegwa, he didn't come from a telecom background. No, he didn't. So, and especially when organizations are looking to make changes, they would even prefer someone who's an outsider as opposed to someone who's internal. Yeah. So to answer your question, Millicent, I believe soft skills carry the day when you get to management, as long as you expect work to be done through others. If you're expecting to get results through other people, then what carries the day? It's the soft skills. Yeah, technical skills, they're important, but as for a leadership position, I believe what you carry the day is the soft skills. Yeah. Anne is saying true, seek for getting them intrinsically motivated, impact, not extrinsic, for sure. Yeah. James Asante Sana, James Juma, not all leaders are managers and vice versa. In fact, I'll tell you, there's a time we did a training on the difference between management and leadership. As the name suggests, management, manage. When talk about management, you're talking about taking care of resources. Manage. Yeah. So here, issues to do with recruitment, budgeting, costing, operations. What you're doing is managing. Leadership, you're looking at reading others. The word leadership comes from the word reading. So here, who are you as a manager? Can people look up to you? Are you a role model? Can you be able to coach? Can you be able to mentor? How do you deal with conflict? How are your communication skills? Yeah. So a lot of us, unfortunately, especially for SME and medium-sized firms, a lot of what we do on a day-to-day basis is actually management. It's not leadership. And that is why you find if you're not very intentional when it comes to managing your team, you might find all you're doing is managing. And then you wonder, why are people not buying into my mission or vision? But it's because a lot of what you're doing, it's management. And there's a place for leadership. Yeah. Elizabeth Kerry is saying, I agree, people management is key. If you want to succeed, building relationship is key. Yeah. Collins Etienne, setting attainable goals. Panom, leadership in an organization is to manage and educated. Yeah. We all have all manner of people in the workplace. Yeah. Yeah. Good. So the question is then, how can we, in terms of leadership approach, what can we do now that we always work with the young people? What can we do to make a difference so that we don't complain? We don't go to where we began, where people are saying, these people, they don't want to give their best. They're always job hopping. Technology is really interfering. What can we do as leaders? Because we can't give up. We still have institutions to run. Today it's you managing this young person. Tomorrow it could be your daughter or son working. So what can you do to ensure that there's a cohesive relationship between the two? So number one, goes without saying, lead by example. So how do you do this? Demonstrate positive leadership qualities and behaviors that young employees can emulate. Be approachable, supportive, and responsive to their needs. Model the values and work ethic you expect from your team and foster a culture of respect. Everyone, we can't demand, let me use the word demand, of the young people of what we are not doing or offering. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you shout, if you send angry emails, if you behave in a manner that is becoming of a leader, then how do you expect them to be any different if you don't give them the resources they need to perform? And I know workplaces are not perfect and they'll never be perfect, but there's a certain way, just like even a parent is supposed to behave so that you can also respect them. Yeah. There's a way a parent can behave, they'll come to a certain level, and as a child, you just find that you can't respect this person. So I believe it's the same in the workplace. Sometimes we don't look inwards, we don't look at the kind of things we are doing that may impact the relationship, the way the younger team might be perceiving us, because it's based on how we behave. Our behavior, they use our behavior as a guide, what is acceptable and even what is not acceptable. So we need to read by example. Read by example. Number 2, clear communication. Establish open and transparent communication channels to provide clear expectation, goals, and feedback. Regularly check in with the young employees to ensure they understand their roles and responsibility, and encourage them to ask questions and share their ideas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, someone has joined your organization. They don't have a job description. They don't have KPIs. You don't appraise them. You don't give them feedback. Yeah. You don't even have a HR policy. You don't conduct meetings. You go to Naivasha as management team, then you just come and hand them document. You tell them next quarter, we need you to perform this way. How do you expect this someone to buy into your vision when either they've not been involved, or to make matters worse, you don't even have the basics. And I've seen this happen. And again, SMEs especially. We don't have systems, we don't have processes. So if you run an organization in a chaotic manner, then the end result will be chaos. The older employees may understand, or they may be desperate for the job because they have the bills, but the young people, they're not going to fathom that. They're not going to be with you. Yeah. So let's try and do our part. Let's try and do our part as much as possible. So I highly encourage, I am a business owner as I train you. And one thing I've tried to make sure that my organization has its structures, its proper structures. So for example, if I do have a management team, I have no business talking to someone who's being supervised by a manager. I have no business. Unless it's, matters, unless it's really an urgent matter that, or something that really can't wait. But chances are now 9 out of 10 follow the proper procedures. Yeah. But I've been in institutions where you can see the employees' frustration. They want to do their best, but it's just a chaotic environment. Yeah. So let's try and put our house in order. Communication is important. Let's have systems and processes. Yeah. Another way we can improve on our leadership when it comes to managing the young people is, like I had said, recognition and feedback. So provide regular feedback and recognition, acknowledge their achievements, highlight their strengths. So act like this big brother or sister. They're in their formative years of their career. And believe me or not, what they crave for most is experience. They want to have a good starting point. And I know we are busy. In fact, some of you start asking me, Paminas, when I do my work or stand hand holding someone. Unfortunately, also, if you want results from them, it's a responsibility that we can't evade. So if you have managers, they should. Part of the KPIs I would give them is what are they doing on a weekly basis, to interact with their team, apart from getting results, and apart from asking them, what did you do Monday to Friday? Even if it's at least not once a week, maybe because of your schedule, at least twice in a month, where you can have regular check-ins, you'll be able to see how this staff is performing and what they need. I believe that session will make all the difference. As a leader also, it will be important for us to involve them in decision-making. Like I said, it's not enough for us to go in the boardroom and discuss issues, whether positive or negative. Involve them as much as possible. Yeah. And where you can give them space to make their own decision, for their own input, why not? Yeah. They're not lacking. They're not lacking. Remember, nowadays, information is freely available. Yeah, these are not the days where you'd say, oh, you don't have to have an MBA to understand some of these things, or you'd have to have worked in the industry for 10 or 15 years. Things are changing so fast, such that maybe it's that young person who will be able to see the coming changes and even be able to offer solution to you. So as much as possible, where you can be able to involve them, that will make a great difference in your organization. The other thing is adopt a mentoring and coaching approach. Yeah. So whether it's you or having your experienced employees, work closely with the young employees. Let us not write them off. Let us not write them off. Yeah. And I would say put yourself in their shoes. When you're starting out, there are all these concerns. You want to impress your boss. You want to do the best job possible. And I believe the bosses that left an impression, a positive impression, the only thing they did was to go out of their way, either to teach us how to do the job, or to mentor us, or to make us better people. It's not that they paid us big salaries. No. What you remember about those bosses is they went out of their way to be nice to us. And so it's our responsibility even now, for those young people to make sure that we are giving them something in return. Yeah, so those are, in terms of leadership, that's what I would recommend. Adopt a mentoring and coaching approach. Engage them in terms of decision making. Can you engage them? Can you have their input, recognition and feedback? Then let's have proper systems and processes, clear communication, and then always endeavor to lead by example. This is key. This is key. This is key. Yeah. Please don't preach what? Don't preach wine, but you're taking changa. Read by example. Read by example. I know you're not perfect, but they're watching. It's just like a household. The kids, they don't do what we ask them to do. They do what they see us doing. So if you're in the sitting room and with your phone and you are having dinner, you can't tell them to put their gadgets aside. No, if that's what you're doing. Yeah. So let's endeavor to read by example. Good. Apart from leadership, the other thing that we need to look at is communication. So how come you communicate matters? How you communicate matters. And Agnes Maina is saying, hello, I'm Gen Z working as a human capital assistant. This session is so much impactful. Asante sana, Agnes. I hope I'm addressing some of your concerns. Okay, we have many young people here. I'm an intern, and this is very clear and insightful. Asante. James Juma, as a leader, I believe you engage your employees, especially the young employees. You show the way to do things, the reports properly. Oh, yes, James, we can't, I know for you, for us, it can be a bit frustrating, especially when, you've done this thing for 10 years. So, you can do it with your eyes closed. But this person is starting out. In fact, I say, whenever you're hiring a young person, please, the first 3 months, just be patient. What you be required of you is patience, because it is your responsibility to teach this person. Patience, patience, patience. You can't give up. Yeah. Yeah, so asanteni sana. Let me see other comments. Neri, thank you for sharing a fresh perspective around this topic. Oh, yeah, you are typically shifting our mindset from blaming young people to owning and being intentional about creating work environment that aligns to what the Jay-Z. Precisely, Neri, thank you. I hadn't even thought about it that way, but indeed, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, the blame game has to stop. If you also ask our parents, they will tell you the same way. The young people, we also be, for example, for me, I'm just past in my 40s. I'm sure if I asked my mother how I was behaving when I was young, she'll probably say, Wanena, this is what you used to do, A, B, C, D. And now that I have kids who are close to being teenagers, they're also more or less, there are some things I look at and I say, okay, that was me some 20 or, or so years ago. So indeed, what I want to bring out is, what can you do? Because you are the one in a management, in a leadership position. What can you do different? You're not guaranteed of results, but at least there will be a change. There will be a change, and a change for the better. Yeah.
Peminus.
Yes.
Sorry, there is something that I find very important also that probably we may have left out, and this one is involving them in the organizational processes.
Yeah.
Before even making that decision. By this I mean, when you're doing your planning for the organization, you should bring them on board.
Yeah.
During our time when you were growing up, that is something that was be done by the supervisors and the managers. But nowadays, this generation appreciates much when we invite them, even when the departments or programs are doing their budgeting.
Yeah.
Bring them on board. Let them understand where this money is coming from. Let them understand when you're talking about cost cutting in the organization, what you mean, and the implication of that in the budget. I think that is very key, and they really appreciate that much.
Yeah, that is so true, Richard. I mean, at the end of the day, if you also even be able to manage expectations. Why? Because there's always this idea that, you know, companies make a lot of money. If I can go with the example of finances, but if this salesperson gets to understand that, yeah, this is what you've been able to bring, but out of the 100,000 you brought, maybe 10,000 went to marketing, some 2,000 went to facilitate your transport. The other people who are paid in the office who support the sales function. You know, we also have rent obligation and all that. So someone will be able to see, okay, they'll be able to put things into context and be able to understand where you're coming from. So yeah, indeed, an involvement. Obviously, I know there are some things you may not be able to share with the younger team, either very highly strategic or private. But I believe 80 to 90% of what happens in the organization, it need not be in the dark. Yeah, there's a car company that tracks sales on a daily basis, and they publish it in the dashboard. And also at the end of the month, they also share with the staff the profit and the loss. And the company has gone to the extent of their bonuses attached to the monthly performance. And then the issue of turnover is really not there. It's not as high. And even when the staff are exiting, it's done in a cordial way. And the staff puts into consideration a lot of things. You know, they think clearly. They don't just jump ship, as sometimes we see with the younger generation, because you've taught them this is how managers behave, this is how businesses are led. Yeah. So yeah, that's quite insightful. And thank you for that feedback. Yeah, so Grace Mboro is saying very insightful session. The future is in the young professionals, and hence we cannot ignore them and their unique approach. So asante sana. If you look at the Kenyan population, I believe over 60% of our population is below 25 years old. So we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. Yeah. So let's look at communication. How can you tailor communication? Yeah, because I believe also this is an area where we see a lot of challenges. Yeah. So how can you communicate differently? Apart from you, we've looked at the leadership aspect. How can you communicate differently? So I would say be clear and concise. So provide clear and concise instructions, expectation, and information. Avoid excessive jargon or technical language that might cause confusion. So in short, come to this person's level. For you, you might have been doing this for the last 10, 15 years. You understand it very well, but come to, especially when someone is new in the organization. Yeah. The other piece of advice I have for you, emphasize the why. So when communicating tasks or assignments, explain the underlying reasons and the significance of their contribution. Help the young employee understand how their work aligns with the bigger picture and the impact it has on the organization or clients. And this is what Richard was really reminding us. Yeah. Don't have those top secret. Everything in the organization cannot be top secret. In fact, in this day and age, your employees talk. They share a lot of information across, top, down, whatever. So there's nothing really private. Yeah. So in as much as possible, what you can be able to share, please do. Yeah. So emphasize the why. The other thing you should do, this one is a must, encourage two-way communication. So how do you do this? Create an environment that encourages the young employees to share their thoughts, ideas, and concerns. We don't have a monopoly of idea. Actively listen to their perspectives, validate their contribution, and provide opportunities for open dialogue. Encourage two-way communication. Sorry to say this, but if you have a manager or a boss or a leader who cannot come to the level of the staff, they are doing you a great disservice. It doesn't matter even if it's the CEO. Yeah. Please look at your team members. If you have a manager who's not emotionally intelligent, they are doing you a great disservice. Yeah, because the days of someone being a big boss, they are long gone. They are long gone. And people, young people, I have many cases where people, they resign to go, not because they have another job. We might blame them for giving up too fast, but that's who they are. These are our younger brothers and sisters. So nowadays, the days of people desperately working because they need a job, those are long gone. Why? Because even me, my daughter right now, I provide for her roofing. And if she comes and tells me she's left her job, what can I do as a parent? There's not much. I may not be happy, but at the end of the day, I still have to accommodate her because that's the reality. That's where we are nowadays. But kitambo huko, maybe we used to fear. Unataka kutoka hiyo nyumbani haraka sana. But maybe because of the way we raise them nowadays, they've become a bit soft. Unfortunately, that's the reality. So if they come, they can leave work, and we have to come and still host them. And so yeah, what I'm trying to bring out is that aspect of desperation. It's really wrong gone. It's wrong gone. So we have to see other ways to be able to make sure that they're engaged. Yeah. This goes hand in hand with what I've been saying, in terms of you being emotionally intelligent. So be responsive and approachable, make yourself accessible and responsive to the inquiries and concern. I would say, look at them as team members. Look at them as team members. Yeah, break the hierarchy. The organizational structure is there, it's important, but as much as possible, let that not be your default setting, that someone has to jump hoops, to come and see you for an issue to be addressed. You're not the government. You're not, it's not a government institutions where there are all these processes. So in as much as possible, be approachable and be responsive. Yeah. Celebrates achievements publicly. This goes hand in hand with what I've been saying in terms of recognition. So celebrate the accomplishment of young employees publicly, highlight their successes during team meetings, company-wide announcement, or through internal. Yeah, whichever method you use, whichever method works for you, let them know that whatever they do, it's appreciated. That they are making a difference in the organization, regardless of whether they are an intern, whether they are just an assistant. Yeah, let them feel valued. Yeah. Personalized communication, especially for the staff that report directly to you, get to know who they are at a personal level, what works for them, and personalize. Yeah, so understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and communication preferences, and adopt your approach accordingly. And this is where now leadership comes in. Yeah, so for your direct reports, look at having a more of one-on-one engagement. The remaining 2 sessions, I'll take you through how to address the unique challenges of managing the young employees, the issues we identified. I'll also take you through on what can you do to make sure that the young employees are coexisting with the other generations. Yeah, what are some of the practical things that you should do? And then lastly, I also mention as an organization, how can we be able to help you, to be able to address some of the things that we've been discussing this morning. So number one, the high expectation and impatience. So as we said, employees in their 20s often have high expectations for rapid career advancement and become impatient if they feel their progress is low. So addressing this challenge by setting realistic expectation, providing growth opportunities, and communicating the importance of gaining experience and building a strong foundation. So remember what I said, if the only thing you're offering is a job, is money, is that 10,000 shillings, you'll have failed. So empower your managers in a way that they can be able to mentor this young person. It shouldn't be work 100%. In fact, I would say it should be work 70%, then 30% is how can you give back to this individual? Let them know the reality. There's no one in this world who starts at the top. But all of us, when you are young, we believe that the employer we have is really doing us a great disservice, that we can get a double salary somewhere, 4 times salary. Yeah. And it doesn't help that they all don't start at the same level. So today, if you're working for a bank you pay what, 80,000, 70 to 80,000? Although I know the others who you start you at 50,000, but that's still a substantial amount. So you imagine you have someone you're paying 10,000 and their colleague now who got a job at a bank, they're earning 50 and 80,000. So this person already looks at you and thinks you are really doing them a great disservice. They should be working for those employers. But if you're able to have a sitting with them and help them understand, not everyone can work for Safaricom, not everyone can work with the UN, not everyone can go out of the country. And that's the reality. So tell them, yeah, for us, the much we can be able to offer you is this much, and we are doing our best. But over and above the pay, there are these training opportunities. We want you to, you engage them in decision making. And over time, you start getting buy-in. Yeah. And whereas if they get a job of 20,000, they'll definitely leave. But at least the 2, 3 months, 6 months they are with you, I can guarantee you they'll be giving you their very best. Yeah. But if the only thing you do is give them the 10,000 and they disappear, trust me, if corporate staffing advertises a job of 13,000, that 3,000 will make them move very fast, and they'll not even give you notice. Yeah. So there's a way you can be able to manage the expectation. In terms of technology, we've got to accept that it's here with us. It's part and parcel of our personal and even professional life. So here I would say just provide guidelines, but be flexible. Provide guidelines, but be flexible. You can shut the Wi-Fi, whatever in the office. You can restrict some website, but they have ways to go around it. So try, like I said, we have some 30% of parenting to do, the big sister, the big brother. We have to, yeah, because whatever we try to do with technology, they're even ahead of us. And let's not forget the phones. What can you do with someone's phone? They'll go to the washroom and they'll be on Twitter and they'll be on Facebook, and there's not much you can do about it. Yeah. Regular feedback and recognition. So here is to ensure that your managers and readers, they are really playing their rightful role. So feedback can be formal, and it should be formal. Remember me talking about you having the HR processes? Please ensure that it's there. So if you have KPIs, ensure that this person is appraised twice a year, maybe mid-year and end of the year, or 1 year, depending on your organizational policy. But in between, there are regular check-ins, and someone is being given their feedback, both at a professional level and at a personal level. I believe that can make a whole great deal of a difference. No matter how busy you are as a manager, create time to be able to engage with them and give them feedback. Yeah. Decision making, like I said, provide them with opportunities where they can be able to contribute, for them to feel part and parcel of the organization. Let them have a voice, yeah, in shaping their work, to enhance their motivation and engagement. Back in 2016, we did a survey, and it was in December, and we asked professionals across the board. It was not just the young people. And we asked them, what were your plans for the new year? 80% said they were looking for a new job. And we asked them the reasons why they were looking for a new job. Guess the reason they gave? Obvious. Number one is because of finances, but these only accounted for 28%. The other issues were job security, relationship with the boss, some of them working hours. It had nothing. Majority of the reason why the people are looking to move jobs the new year, they had nothing to do with the salary, because 100%, if you remove the salary, the bigger part was it's the daily thing that's happening in the office. Yeah. But sometimes as managers, as readers, we feel, I've paid you money. Why aren't you working? Why aren't you motivated? Unfortunately, human beings don't work that way. Yeah. So one way you can be able to change that is don't just offer the pay, offer something else. I've talked about the issue of career development opportunities. So career growth, you don't have to do formal trainings. It doesn't have to be structured. You don't have to invite third parties for us, but there are things you can do within the organization that will not cost you money. Yeah. If you hired a young accountant, maybe they don't understand Excel, the manager can teach them Excel, they can teach them report writing, that would be sort of free mentorship, coaching. Yeah. There's a whenever I'm conducting leadership session, one question I ask is, think about, you're a boss who had a big impact in your career. And so people would list names, and I asked why does that individual stand out? And I remember one person telling me is because these boss, whenever the boss had a meeting, they would ask this intern to accompany them. And the intern would not even say anything. All the boss required of the intern is to dress professionally, look the part. So, and she told me she fell in love with marketing and sales because the boss used to ask her to accompany for them for the meeting. And so they learned a lot. They learned negotiation, they asked the hard questions. And so when the boss comes and then asks you, please do this report based on the meeting we had, you feel part and parcel. Yeah. So career opportunities, they don't have to be really structured. You don't have to pay for the MBA. It's those small things that makes the difference. So offer them career development opportunities where you can. Yeah. So that's what you can do as an employer, as a manager. Yeah. Career development opportunities, engagement in terms of decision making, regular feedback, policies, come up with policies that are fair, then be able to manage their expectations. So we are coming close to the end, and in this session, we are going to look at how can you make sure that the different generations coexist. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going far behind. Yeah, so how can you make sure that there's teamwork and strong relationship across the various generations? Now that we've agreed we are not going to give up anytime soon. Yeah. So before I share with you my tips, let me hear from you. What can you do? Frederick Maseke is saying, I think that in organization where bosses request sexual favors is a clear indicator of a lack of integrity. Yeah, for sure. This is something someone not reading by example. Yeah. Yeah. But now as we come to this, as we come to an end, so how can you ensure that there's synergy among, across the various generations? I would love to hear. You can go to the comment section. Oh, Austin Ocheng is saying team building activities. Don't look at it as a waste of money. Leverage on relationship building. Neri Akungu, creating an environment of respect, trust, and accountability. I love the answers. Asante, can see we on the same page. Jerry is saying leverage on relationship building. Abebe, acknowledge past the generation difference. Yeah, get to acknowledge that everyone is different and we all bringing something to the table. Ruth Wamboi, have structure, strict policies, and timely feedback. Yeah, in a way, I think it can help. Having your house in order can help. Embracing a two-way communication, team building. Otiato, thank you. Mentorship programs. Respect and clear structure, Edwin. Asante, encourage DEI strategies. What is that? Esther Moshiri. Work on a culture that incorporates inclusivity. Prioritize collaboration, Bernard. Shadrach Muriwa, be flexible and accommodating. Team building. Frederick Maseke, regular check-ins. Oh yes, diversity, Moshiri, inclusion and equity. I agree with you. Panom is saying eat together and share the teamwork. Yeah, look at how the team can come together now and then, team integration. Yeah, so we are definitely on the same page. So some of the things you can do. Number one, foster mutual respect. So emphasize the importance of mutual respect among team members, regardless of age or generation differences. So I know there are all these stereotypes in the workplace, but let it be known, and especially from the management and the leadership team. Stereotyping, the fact that someone is young doesn't mean they are an empty head. Yeah, so let it be known, especially to the leadership and the management team, that it's their work to make this person feel part and parcel of the organization. And the young people, for me, the way I would approach it is they're innocent until proven guilty. Why? Because they are people, yeah, they are young people who they don't have it. They don't have what it takes, just like they are 35-year-olds, 45-year-olds, and that is why we have termination. That's why we have separation. But especially when someone is new, they should be deemed innocent until they prove themselves otherwise. So during that period is Let them be respected. Let them be given the space. Let them be, as much as possible, be empowered. And if you've done all you could, that's why even the law, the labor laws, the government has come up with the probation period or something like that. Yeah. So the beginning is very important. Foster mutual respect. Huh? Yeah. The other thing, as some of you have already said, establish team building activities. So organize activities that you promote interaction and relationship building among team members. That intern who doesn't talk, maybe when he's out there and you're tafunguka, ukimpeleka Naivasha, or even you do an internal team building. By the way, team buildings, they're very unique team building exercises we do. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go to an external venue. Like even there's a team building exercise we do where we do internal, where people get to know their personality. And so you get to know, oh, Paminas is an introvert or extrovert. So getting insights into how this person, their makeup, you know, how they reason, it really goes a long way in people understanding each other. So team building, it's giving people an opportunity to be themselves out of work, and so that people can have a better understanding, you know, of their personality, of their makeup. Yeah. So establish team building activities. Then I believe across the generational teams, cross-generational teams, they can learn from each other. So that's what reverse mentoring is all about. So there are things the young people can teach the experienced professionals, and definitely there are things that the experienced professionals can teach the young people. So everyone has something to contribute. Yeah, so encourage the reverse mentoring. Just like I had said, read by example. So as readers, as managers, we need to demonstrate behavior that bridge the generational gap yourself. So show respect for different perspectives, actively seek input from your team members of all ages, and create an environment that values collaboration and teamwork. Yeah, just like I said, just like children, the people we read, they behave according to the way we are behaving ourselves. Yeah, at the bare minimum. Yeah. So read by example. If the opportunities where the teams can work together, especially for the large organization, promote that. Remember the example I gave of this intern who says the boss used to take me to meetings. Yeah. So this person, even if they earn in 10,000, they'll see a difference. By the time they go home in the evening, they'll feel fulfilled. Umewapeleka Safaricom, or you've taken them to government, you know, they've never been in this building, they'll learn. And they'll be remembering 5 years later, they'll be remembering, oh, I learned this when I went to this meeting, or when I went to this ministry, or when I dealt with KRA, they're in accounts. So give them, yeah, if there's a way they can work together, why not encourage that? Good, so we've come to the end. Asanteni sana. So in summary, I would say we are not giving up anytime soon. And I would say this is the takeaway for me. So clear communication is important. Establish transparent communication channels where there are clear expectation, and encourage open dialogue. If you're here, you're watching this, and you don't have a HR, you don't have someone running with your HR department, you could be an SME or a medium-sized firm. I think this is a conversation I would really I would want to have with you on how you can put up fast, proper HR structures. They go a long way. Yeah. Even you as a manager, if you have something guiding you, you not become emotional. You not. If you know that this is the disciplinary process that you need to take someone, why you didn't find yourself emotional? But if you don't know what to do, that's where people start shouting, you become emotional, angry over things that you don't have to. So provide clear communication, have HR systems and processes. Mentorship and coaching, as we've seen, is very important. Feedback and recognition, involve them in decision making, have an individualized approach, and also read by example. Yeah, whether you're a business owner, manager, supervisor, as long as you're in charge of people, read by example. In terms of CSS, how can we help you? There are 3 ways we can be able to help you. Number one, for SMEs and medium-sized firms, if you don't have a HR, please, it's a high time. A lot of the people issues you're having is because your house is not in order. That's what I can tell you. If you don't have systems and processes supporting you, corporate staffing can help you set up the proper HR structures and processes and work with you step by step, whether offering ad hoc or even monthly support, we're able to do that. The other bit, as you've seen, if you're going to get the best out of people, it all goes back to your leadership and management skill. So if there's a training I highly advocate for any institution, whether big or small, is leadership skills. So ensure that you equip your management team with the leadership and people management skills, because they'll then be able to read people better. And let's not forget, recruitment is key. So if you're looking to hire for those critical positions in your organization, the hard, sometimes even hard to fill position, we've been at it for the last 14 years. I could see some of my clients are logged in. We do appreciate the business. We appreciate the support. So we've supported many organizations, not only in Kenya, but the larger East Africa. So we can be able to help you with your recruitment needs. So thank you so much. It's really been an honor facilitating this session. So Kaindre, any question you might be having or any other training you'd want us to offer, please feel free to leave comments and be able to be of assistance. This is my email address on the screen. So if there's a question, if there's a way you'd want us to partner, please send an email and we'll be able to get in touch, organize a meeting, and be able to help you. Is there a question before I end the session?
Paminas, there is a question that probably skipped you. Somebody was asking why this generation feels like working remotely is important to them or works better for them.
Yeah, I think, Richard, it's the changing times, and the reason what I've seen, number one, people finances have been highly impacted. So the question is, if I can be able to deliver and work from home and be able to save on transport, why should I be coming to Westlands and I incur some 200 shillings? So that could be reason number one. Number two, there's also that aspect of independence. I mean, they're able to achieve much, using their phones. So they also don't understand, if you've given me this KPI and I'm able to achieve, within the week, we don't have to have fights. Again, it doesn't matter where I'm working from. So these are the changing times, and it's good to go with the times. So I believe for those positions where indeed, whether it's the young person or even an experienced professionals, where they can be able to deliver from home, give them that chance. Yeah. Empower them to do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.